The scorching afternoon sun beat down mercilessly on the bustling film set in downtown Los Angeles. Marcus Thompson, the veteran action star known for his intense dedication to every role, wiped sweat from his brow as the director called for a lunch break. The concrete jungle of the city trapped the heat like an oven, making everyone on the crew grateful for the respite. "That's lunch, people," shouted Director Williams, her voice cutting through the ambient noise of traffic and construction. 1 hour break, then we're back for the chase sequence. As the crew began dispersing toward the catering tables, Marcus found his attention drawn to Rex, the German shepherd who'd been working alongside him in several key scenes. The dog was panting heavily, his thick coat making the heat particularly unbearable. "Hey Marcus," called out Jake, one of the younger crew members. "We're hitting that new sandwich shop around the corner. Want to come along?" Marcus shook his head, his eyes still focused on Rex. "Thanks, but I think our four-legged star here needs some attention first. This heat's getting to him." The animal handler, a weathered man named Pete, approached them. "I can take care of Rex, Mr. Thompson. That's what I'm here for." "I appreciate that, Pete," Marcus replied, "but I'd like to take him for a walk myself. It'll help us build that connection for this afternoon's scenes." He paused, studying the dog's condition. "Plus, I've been thinking about getting a dog myself. This might give me some insight into what that's really like." Pete hesitated, his brow furrowing slightly. "Well, if you're sure. Rex is pretty well trained, but he can be protective if he senses trouble." "We'll stick to the safe neighborhoods," Marcus assured him, accepting the leash and a small bag of supplies. "Just a quick walk to find some shade and water." With Rex trotting beside him, Marcus left the controlled chaos of the film set behind. The streets of downtown LA stretched out before them, a mix of gleaming office buildings and grittier establishments that gave the city its character. After walking several blocks, Marcus spotted what he was looking for, a small park with mature trees providing blessed shade. But as they approached, he noticed something that made him pause. Across from the park stood Throttle's Den, a motorcycle bar that looked like it had seen better days. The place had the kind of weathered, intimidating appearance that screamed locals only. More importantly, Marcus could see a public water fountain positioned right between the park and the bar's outdoor seating area. Rex's tongue was hanging out, and the dog clearly needed hydration more than Marcus needed to avoid potentially awkward social situations. "Come on, boy," Marcus said quietly, guiding Rex toward the fountain. "Let's get you some water." As they approached, Marcus pulled out a collapsible bowl from the supply bag Pete had given him. He filled it with cool water from the fountain, and Rex immediately began lapping it up gratefully. While the dog drank, Marcus took a moment to observe their surroundings. The bar's patrons were exactly what he'd expected, leather-clad bikers with an assortment of tattoos and attitudes. But to his surprise, many of them seemed genuinely interested in Rex, offering friendly nods and even a few compliments about the dog's appearance. "Beautiful shepherd you got there," commented a burly man with intricate sleeve tattoos. "People always assume the worst about both our breeds, dogs like that and guys like us. But we're usually more loyal than people give us credit for." Marcus found himself smiling at the observation. "You're absolutely right about that. There's definitely more beneath the surface than most people bother to see." Their conversation was interrupted by the appearance of a waitress from the bar. She was young, probably in her early 20s, with tired eyes that spoke of long shifts and difficult customers. "Oh my goodness, what a handsome boy," she exclaimed, immediately kneeling down to let Rex sniff her hand. The dog's tail wagged enthusiastically, and she laughed with genuine delight. "He's so sweet. Honestly, he's got better manners than half the customers I deal with in there." Marcus chuckled at her candor. "He's definitely good company. Thanks for the warm welcome." As he prepared to continue their walk, Marcus's attention was caught by raised voices coming from the bar's entrance. The same friendly waitress was now facing off against a group of 5 intimidating bikers, her small frame dwarfed by their imposing presence. "I already told your crew yesterday," she was saying, her voice shaking but determined. "You're not welcome here anymore." After that incident last week, management made it clear, you're banned. The largest of the group, a mountain of a man with a shaved head, stepped closer menacingly. Listen here, little girl, he growled, maybe you should step aside before something unfortunate happens. Marcus felt his muscles tense, torn between his instinct to help and his responsibility to keep Rex safe. Before he could make a decision, several other bikers emerged from the bar, quickly positioning themselves around the waitress in a protective formation. You heard the lady, one of them said, his voice deadly calm. Time for you to move along. Recognizing the potential for violence and remembering his promise to Pete, Marcus decided discretion was the better part of valor. He quietly led Rex away from the brewing confrontation, not wanting to draw attention to themselves or escalate an already volatile situation. Several blocks away from the tense scene, Marcus and Rex found themselves in a much more peaceful part of the neighborhood. Tree-lined streets gave way to a charming cafe district, complete with outdoor seating areas perfect for both humans and their canine companions. The Riverside Cafe caught Marcus's eye immediately. Its spacious patio was dotted with umbrella-covered tables, and several patrons were already dining with their dogs by their sides. It seemed like the perfect spot to grab a bite while keeping Rex comfortable. Marcus chose a table in a shaded corner, pulling out an extra chair for Rex, who hopped up with surprising grace for such a large dog. The sight drew amused smiles from nearby diners, and Marcus found himself relaxing for the first time since leaving the film set. A server approached their table, her name tag read Sophie, and her face lit up when she saw Rex. Well, aren't you a distinguished gentleman, she said, addressing the dog directly. And what can I get for you and your human today? Marcus couldn't help but grin at her approach. I'll take a coffee and the grilled chicken sandwich, please. And could I get a small portion of plain grilled chicken for my friend here? No seasoning or sauce. Absolutely. Sophie replied, making notes on her pad. One coffee, one chicken sandwich, and a special order for the handsome fellow. I'll have that right out for you. As Sophie headed back inside, Marcus pulled out his script, spreading it across the table. He alternated between reviewing his lines and giving Rex the occasional pat, feeling more relaxed than he had in weeks. The dog seemed content, occasionally lifting his head to watch passers-by but otherwise resting peacefully. Just a little longer, buddy, Marcus murmured, scratching behind Rex's ears. Food should be here soon. True to her word, Sophie returned quickly with Marcus's coffee. The kitchen's just finishing up your orders, she said with a smile. Should be just another minute or two. Marcus thanked her and took a sip of the rich, dark coffee, feeling his energy returning after the morning's intensive filming. The peaceful atmosphere was exactly what both he and Rex needed after the earlier tension. That tranquility shattered in an instant. A massive figure in leather vest suddenly appeared beside their table, his face twisted in disgust. Disgusting mutts, he snarled loud enough for the entire patio to hear, sitting at tables like their people. Before Marcus could react, the man's heavy boot swung out, connecting solidly with Rex's ribs. The dog yelped in pain and surprise, immediately going on the defensive with protective barking that echoed across the patio. Marcus was on his feet instantly, his chair scraping loudly against the concrete. Every muscle in his body was coiled with anger, his protective instincts in full gear. What the hell is wrong with you? He demanded, stepping between Rex and the aggressor. The biker, apparently surprised by Marcus's quick response, took a step back but maintained his aggressive posture. He spat on the ground, his face a mask of contempt. Control your animal, he sneered. How dare it bare its teeth at me? Marcus kept one hand on Rex's back, both calming the agitated dog and maintaining his protective stance. Rex only reacts to threats, he said, his voice dangerously low. You kicked him. He's defending himself, just like any living creature would. The biker's expression twisted into a mocking sneer. Coward dog, coward owner, he taunted, clearly trying to provoke a physical confrontation. For a split second, Marcus felt his control slip. His hand shot out, gripping the front of the biker's vest, and the crowd around them gasped audibly. But just as quickly, Marcus caught himself. He was aware of the watching crowd, of Sophie approaching with their food, of Rex looking up at him with confused eyes. Marcus released his grip, taking a deep breath to center himself. The biker, sensing Marcus's restraint, pressed his advantage. "You'll regret this," he growled, brushing at his vest where Marcus had grabbed him. "Both of you." His eyes locked onto Rex with unmistakable malice before he turned and stalked away, his heavy boots echoing against the patio stones. As the biker retreated, Marcus's trained eye caught something significant. The man's vest bore a distinctive patch, a snarling wolf with yellow eyes. It was the same design he'd seen on the troublemakers outside Throttle's den earlier. The connection sent a chill down his spine, but he pushed the thought aside, focusing instead on Rex. Sophie approached cautiously, concern written across her face as she set down their plates. "I'm so sorry about that," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Are you both okay?" Marcus nodded, though he was still checking Rex over for any signs of injury. "We're fine, thanks. Sorry for the commotion." Sophie shook her head emphatically. "Don't you dare apologize. That gang has been terrorizing this whole neighborhood for months. This is the first time one of them has actually hurt an animal, though." She glanced around nervously before lowering her voice. "The owner's been trying to get better security, but it's complicated." As Sophie returned to her duties, Marcus settled back into his chair, though the earlier piece was completely shattered. He looked down at his sandwich, suddenly aware of how hungry he was. Perhaps that's why he'd reacted so quickly to the provocation. Rex seemed to have recovered from the shock, his nose twitching at the aroma of the grilled chicken. Marcus couldn't help but smile at the dog's resilience. "Okay, boy," he said, reaching for Rex's plate. "After that excitement, I think we've both earned our lunch." As they ate, Marcus found his thoughts returning to the biker's parting threat. He couldn't shake the feeling that their paths would cross again before the day was through, but for now, he tried to focus on the simple pleasure of sharing a meal with his new four-legged friend. When Marcus glanced at his watch, he was startled to realize how much time had passed. Their filming break was nearly over, and they needed to head back to the set soon. "Looks like we need to wrap this up, Rex," he said, giving the dog one final pat. "But first, I need to use the restroom. Think you can hold down the fort for a few minutes?" Rex tilted his head in that distinctly canine way that seemed to suggest he understood perfectly, then settled back into his chair with a contented sigh. Marcus secured Rex's leash to the table leg and caught Sophie's attention as she passed by. "Could you keep an eye on him for just a minute?" "I'll be right back." Sophie nodded warmly. "Of course. We'll be fine, won't we, handsome?" Marcus made his way inside the cafe, weaving between tables toward the back where he'd spotted the restroom signs. To his frustration, there was a short line of people waiting. He considered going back outside, but the growing pressure in his bladder convinced him to wait it out. The minutes seemed to crawl by as Marcus waited his turn, tapping his foot impatiently. He kept glancing toward the windows, trying to catch a glimpse of Rex, but the angle wasn't quite right. A nagging sense of unease was building in his chest, though he couldn't pinpoint why. Finally, after what felt like an eternity but was probably only 8 or 9 minutes, Marcus emerged from the restroom. He hurried back outside, eager to collect Rex and head back to the set. What he saw made his blood run cold. Rex was alone at the table, Sophie nowhere in sight. But that wasn't what terrified Marcus, it was the sight of Rex clearly in distress. The dog was making choking sounds, his body convulsing as he struggled to breathe. Marcus rushed to the dog's side, his heart pounding with panic. "Rex! What's wrong, boy?" The dog was choking on something, his airway partially blocked. Marcus could see Rex's eyes were wide with fear and confusion, his tail hanging limp instead of its usual confident position. "Water!" Marcus called out urgently to anyone who would listen. "I need water, fast." A server, not Sophie, but another young man, quickly brought over a bottle of water. With careful precision, Marcus tilted Rex's head back and administered small amounts of water, trying to help whatever was stuck work its way down. For several terrifying seconds, nothing happened. Then Rex gave a massive swallow, and the immediate choking stopped. But the dog still looked wrong, disoriented, unsteady on his feet. Sophie appeared at that moment, her face flushed and apologetic. "I'm so sorry," she gasped. "The manager called me inside for an emergency, a problem with the kitchen. But I asked Tom to watch him." She gestured toward the server who had brought the water. Tom looked nervous as he stepped forward. "There was this guy," he explained hesitantly. "Seemed friendly enough. He had a treat for the dog, said it was fine since dogs love them. I thought it was okay since he seemed to know what he was doing." As Tom described the man, bearded, stocky build, wearing a black bandana and a leather vest with a wolf patch, Marcus felt his stomach drop. The description matched the biker from their earlier confrontation perfectly. "Is there a veterinarian nearby?" Marcus asked urgently, already fearing that something more than just a treat had been given to Rex. Sophie and Tom exchanged quick glances. "Yes, about 4 blocks from here," Sophie said, pointing down the street. "Take a left at the second light, you can't miss it." Marcus left more than enough money on the table to cover their meal and a generous tip. "Thank you both," he said, though his mind was already focused on getting Rex help. But as he stood to leave, Rex suddenly swayed and collapsed, his legs giving out completely. The dog's eyes were becoming unfocused, and he was making weak, distressed sounds. Without hesitation, Marcus scooped Rex into his arms. The German Shepherd was substantial, probably close to 80 pounds, but adrenaline gave Marcus the strength he needed. "Hold on, boy," he whispered as he began to run. "We're going to get you help." Marcus ran through the streets of LA with Rex cradled in his arms, drawing stares from pedestrians but not caring about anything except getting to the veterinary clinic. His lungs burned and sweat poured down his face, but he pushed forward relentlessly. The 4 blocks felt like miles, but finally, the clinic came into view, a modern building with a distinctive Blue Cross and West Side Animal Emergency prominently displayed. Marcus burst through the doors, his voice hoarse as he called out, "Please. My dog's been poisoned. I need help now." The reception area immediately sprang into action. A veterinarian in scrubs, her name tag read Dr. Martinez, quickly took charge of the situation. "Bring him back here," she directed, leading Marcus to an examination room. "Put him on the table and tell me exactly what happened." Marcus gently laid Rex on the stainless steel table, his words tumbling out as he described the incident at the cafe. "Someone fed him something, I think it was intentional. He started choking, then became disoriented, and now he can barely stay conscious." Dr. Martinez immediately began her examination, checking Rex's vital signs with swift efficiency. "His pupils are dilated, and his heart rate is erratic," she reported to a nearby technician. "We need blood work immediately to identify what we're dealing with." As the medical team worked on Rex, Marcus found himself pushed back to allow them room to operate. "We need to run tests to identify the specific substance," Dr. Martinez explained without looking away from her patient. "Based on his symptoms, it looks like some kind of narcotic, possibly mixed with other compounds." The next few minutes felt like hours as Marcus watched the veterinary team work to stabilize Rex. They administered activated charcoal to absorb any remaining toxins and started an 4 to help flush his system. Dr. Martinez called a technician from across the room. "The blood work is back." Dr. Martinez reviewed the results, her expression growing more serious. "It's a combination of a powerful sedative and what appears to be antifreeze. This was definitely intentional, and potentially lethal." Marcus felt rage building alongside his worry. This wasn't just a cruel prank, it was an attempted murder of an innocent animal. "Will he be okay?" Marcus asked, his voice tight with emotion. "We caught it early, which is good," Dr. Martinez replied. "The activated charcoal should help neutralize the remaining toxins, and the 4 will help flush his system. But the next few hours will be critical." As the medical team continued working on Rex, Marcus stepped outside to make some necessary phone calls. First, He called the film's director to explain the situation and arrange for the afternoon's shoot to be postponed. "Don't worry about the schedule," Director Williams assured him. "Just focus on Rex. We'll figure out the rest later." His next call was to Detective Sarah Kim, a longtime friend who worked in the LAPD's Criminal Investigations Division. "Sarah, it's Marcus. I need your help with something urgent," he said, his voice still tight with controlled anger. "What's going on?" she asked, immediately picking up on his tone. Marcus quickly outlined the day's events, the confrontation at the cafe, the suspicious treat given to Rex, and the veterinarian's confirmation of intentional poisoning. "I'm sending a unit to the cafe to collect any evidence and get statements from witnesses," Sarah said without hesitation. "Can you describe the person who did this?" Marcus provided as detailed a description as he could remember, including the distinctive wolf patch on the biker's vest. "I think he's part of a gang that's been causing problems in that area. They had some kind of confrontation at a bar called Throttle's Den earlier today." "We'll look into it," Sarah promised. "Marcus, I need you to stay at the clinic and don't do anything rash. Let us handle this legally." Marcus agreed, though part of him was itching for a more direct form of justice. After ending the call, he returned to the clinic's waiting room, where Dr. Martinez found him about an hour later. "Rex is stabilizing," she reported, and Marcus felt a weight lift from his chest. "The antidotes are working, and his vital signs are improving. He should make a full recovery, but we'll need to keep him overnight for observation." "Thank you," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. "Can I see him?" Dr. Martinez led him to the recovery area, where Rex lay on a soft bed surrounded by monitoring equipment. Despite the tubes and wires, his tail gave a weak wag when he saw Marcus. "Hey, buddy," Marcus said softly, kneeling beside the bed. "You scared me there for a while." As he sat with Rex, Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from Detective Kim. "Gang members arrested at Throttle's Den, multiple charges including animal cruelty. Your involvement remains confidential as requested." Marcus felt a sense of satisfaction as he read the message, but more than that, he felt relief. Rex was going to be okay, and the people responsible were facing justice. The next morning, Marcus returned to pick up Rex, who was alert and clearly feeling much better. Dr. Martinez provided detailed aftercare instructions and a prescription for medication to support his continued recovery. "He's a fighter," she said, watching Rex greet Marcus enthusiastically. "But he'll need rest and a special diet for the next few days." When they returned to the film set, the entire crew gathered around to welcome Rex back. Pete, the animal handler, was visibly emotional as he checked over his charge. "I heard what happened," he said to Marcus. "Thank you for taking care of him." Director Williams approached them as the crew prepared for the day's shooting. "How are you both feeling? Ready to work, or do you need more time?" Marcus looked down at Rex, who was standing alertly beside him, seemingly eager to get back to work. "I think we're ready," he said. "In fact, I think we understand each other better now than ever before." As filming resumed, it was clear that the bond between Marcus and Rex had deepened significantly. Their on-screen chemistry was more natural and authentic, born from a real shared experience that went far beyond any scripted scenario. During a break between takes, Marcus reflected on how the day had changed both of them. What had started as a simple walk to build rapport with his co-star had turned into a life-or-death situation that tested not just his protective instincts but his commitment to doing what was right. The news that evening reported on the arrests at Throttle's Den, highlighting the gang's various criminal activities and their pattern of intimidating local businesses. The report mentioned that several charges had been filed, including animal cruelty, though no details were provided about the specific incident that had triggered the investigation. Marcus watched the news with satisfaction, knowing that Rex had played a part in bringing these criminals to justice. But more importantly, he knew that their shared ordeal had created a bond that would last well beyond the completion of their film. As he prepared for bed that night, Marcus found himself thinking about getting a dog of his own. His experience with Rex had shown him the profound connection that was possible between humans and their canine companions, a connection that was worth protecting at any cost. The following weeks of filming went smoothly, with Rex fully recovered and performing at his peak. The authentic chemistry between Marcus and the German Shepherd translated beautifully on screen, creating some of the most compelling scenes in the entire film. When production wrapped, Marcus was surprised by how difficult it was to say goodbye to Rex. The dog had become more than just a co-star, he had become a true partner and friend. 6 months later, Marcus received a photo in the mail from Pete, the animal handler. It showed Rex on a movie set with his new co-star, looking healthy and happy. On the back, Pete had written, "Rex sends his regards. Still the best in the business, and tougher than ever thanks to your friendship." Marcus kept the photo on his desk as a reminder of the day that taught him that sometimes the most important performances happen off-camera, in real life, when everything that matters is on the line. The experience had reinforced something Marcus had always believed but perhaps never fully understood, that loyalty, protection, and doing what's right aren't just themes for movies, they're principles worth living by, regardless of who's watching or what it might cost. And Rex? He continued his successful career as one of Hollywood's most reliable animal actors, carrying with him the confidence that comes from knowing that when it mattered most, someone had been willing to fight for him. Sometimes, Marcus reflected, the most important stories are the ones that never make it to the screen, the real moments of courage, loyalty, and justice that happen when ordinary people choose to do extraordinary things for those who can't defend themselves. In the end, that's what makes someone a true action hero, not the stunts they perform for cameras, but the stands they take when nobody's looking except for those whose lives hang in the balance.